Good day, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Draculetta.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Everything's going well on this end, and it looks like that the big news this week is that a white dragon has descended upon the city of Boston and left a big blanket of snow for Turbine to dig themselves out of. Thus, not much else happened there.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the Midwest and the East Coast is having to deal with that white dragon. I know I was dealing with it myself.
Yeah, apparently it missed my area a little, but just barely missed my area. Just gave us a grazing on it. But let's look at Update 24 hotfix release notes. Yes, there was a hotfix which made a few little adjustments. And what was changed? Anything important?
Well, there was one big thing. If you use Fireball or Fireball spell-like abilities, those will no longer erroneously use a character's strength score for their DC. So now Fireballs are now working correctly. I can see why there was some people complaining about Fireball now.
Yes. There might have been one or two wizards out there that had a decent strength score, but probably not many of them.
Yes.
And they're probably multi-classed ones.
Yes, yep, I would think so. That would make the most sense. Also, a few changes to combat. The tactical feats no longer add a character's level to its DC, and tactical feats no longer add double their ability score modifier to the initial saving throw.
I would presume then that it adds only the ability score, period, rather than double it.
Correct. That's how it is done now. And also, feats, single weapon fighting feat, had previously been granting too much bonus damage based on the ability score. This has now been corrected to match the text, which says up to 50% damage, the same as two-handed fighting.
All right, very well. And I see that they fixed the UI thing with stackable items, which was an annoyance I had in the bank one time, where I was like, why isn't this moving? Why is it giving me an error message? And apparently they fixed that too.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of rejoicing when that got fixed, because I know that happened to a lot of people. So yeah, that is now fixed as well. So it's a good thing they figured out what that problem was, because that was introduced with the last update, actually.
All right, then. And we'll also see that we have issued 127 of the DDO Chronicle, and anything in there interesting?
Yes, there was a pretty good article from Even Notes over on her blog. You can click over to see it. She looks at early character building and how to build your character. Also, DDO Gamer has another post on his blog as well. He hit 5,000 favor. You can check to see that out.
5,000?
5,000 favor. That's a lot of favor.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. Full Moon Fury also takes a look at the Incompetent Veteran Challenge. You can click to learn all about that challenge, and I haven't actually looked at that yet, so I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it sounds interesting.
Incompetent Veteran Challenge. It sounds like I should be able to do very well in something where the object is to be incompetent.
I think you and me both, finally. Also, Ginger Spice has some new videos up on teaching raids in a TR guide and more. So click and go over to Ginger Spice's YouTube channel and check those out.
All right, then.
And of course, we have to talk about the screenshot of the week that's in the Chronicle, because it's Lord Bacon. It's a pig.
Oh, of course we got to talk about Lord Bacon. I have to tell you, though, I am not exactly sure who Lord Bacon is.
He's a pig, and you make bacon out of him. What more do you need to know?
I thought that there was going to be this deep mystery behind this.
Bacon is good, Pine Leaf. Bacon is good.
Oh, whatever you say, then. All right, what's on sale this week?
The free sample of the week through February 5th is the Small Jewel of Fortune. You can use the coupon code LOOT30, LOOT 30, to get one Small Jewel of Fortune per account. So choose which character wisely. 20% off Epic Destinies, Tomes of Fate, Key of Destiny, and Fast Travel. And also don't forget the Rizia Ice Games and the Evening Star Midwinter Festival, running now through February 15th.
All right, then. Then let's go into the site news, and we'll begin with our screenshot of the week. And can it beat out Lord Bacon?
Nothing beats bacon, finally.
Okay, nothing beats Bacon.
This is a good screenshot, but it does not beat bacon.
All right. And what's he doing? Showing off before the troops or something?
Yes, it looks like he is flexing his muscles for the invading Dorium army. Styrofoam from Sorlona sends us this week's screenshot, also with a message that he enjoys the podcast very much, and he thanked us for doing it. If you have a screenshot you would like to be featured on DDO Players, send that to podcast@ddoplayers.com. Once again, podcast@ddoplayers.com, and we might feature your screenshot on the site.
All right. Very well, then. Then what is this about bloopers? We actually have bloopers?
Well, sometimes the before and after of the show gets interesting. We never make a mistake during the show because we are the consummate professionals. But we record from the moment we start the Skype call to the moment we end it. It's always recording. And sometimes there's just some interesting things that happen in those conversations we have. And for those of you that don't know, on the MP3 version of the podcast that's posted every week, after the episode ends, there is always some outtakes and bloopers included on that. Well, let me rephrase that. Not always. Most of the time there is. If we don't have anything, there's nothing included. So for people that watch the YouTube version only of the episode, they don't get these until I do these multi-videos where I put a few bloopers of the episodes together. But so it's a little bonus for the folks that download the MP3 version. So what I did is I had previously done episodes 1 through 12, or 1 through 11, I'm sorry. So now I did episodes 12 through 17, and you can hear some of the craziness that ensues as we are talking about the show. And sometimes we just talk about random things that come out of nowhere.
All right. And I hear a rumor that we have a little bit of a giveaway. What are we giving away? The Chronicle said something about turbine points?
Well, it's kind of turbine points. I guess you could say we're giving away 1,000 turbine points, but it's more than that. You're going to get those 1,000 turbine points because you're going to be a VIP for 60 days. That's right. We are giving away a 60-day VIP code thanks to our supporters on Patreon. You have until February 10th to enter. All you have to do is go over to the DDO Players website, find this article, which is pretty much at the top, because right now it's the most popular post for various reasons. Everybody wants to win 60 days VIP, and just enter a comment, and that's it. And then after February 10th, we'll draw a winner, and we will email you. So, word of warning here, though, make sure whatever email that you put in when you leave your comment, make sure that email is valid and you check that email, because that is how we are going to send you your code. We will contact you and wait to hear back from you, and if we don't hear back, we're going to draw again.
All right, very well then. And I heard a rumor that you are heading for a game convention.
It is more than a rumor, Pineleaf. It is true. Winter Fantasy is coming up this weekend, and I will be heading there. It is taking place in Fort Wayne, Indiana. For those of you that don't know, Winter Fantasy has actually been around for a long time. This is the 39th year of it. It used to be called D&D Experience, and they changed the name back to the original Winter Fantasy. It is a nice little convention. I have gone, this is probably my third time going. It's been a couple years since I've gone, but it always takes place in February, and it's always in Fort Wayne, which usually is kind of interesting because that's like peak winter and snow time for Indiana. So sometimes it's interesting getting around because of all the snow. So looking forward to it. Hope to get some of the seminars recorded, and I'm going to see if we can release them. The preliminary thing I found out is, yes, I can release them, so we'll be putting them up. And also Chris Tulich, who is the organized play content developer for Wizards of the Coast, he will be attending the convention as well, and I'm hoping to get an interview with him. So hopefully you'll see some stuff coming to the website about the Winter Fantasy Convention soon.
Right, very well then. I was reading the Incompetent Veteran Challenge, and I must say that I don't know how someone, because it looks like it's a challenge to utterly fail using veteran status at Misery's Peak.
Now that would be kind of tough.
So that means either 4th, or if you really want to challenge, 7th level Veterans Challenge and fail at Misery's Peak. Give yourself such a bad build that you'll totally fail at Misery's Peak. That is a challenge. All right, let's go to our news beyond DDO then. Wizards of the Coast, what is this about layoffs?
Well, it seems they have trimmed the staff just a little bit. Chris Sims recently tweeted on his Twitter account. This was on January 28th. He tweets, "I need a job and I'm willing to relocate." For those of you who don't know, Chris Sims was hired by Wizards of the Coast back in 2005. He was an integral part of the D&D 5e launch. He edited the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and he was also responsible for all the stat blocks in the Monster Manual.
Well, that's quite a lot.
So, yeah, and like I said, he's been with the company since 2005, so this was kind of a surprise to a lot of people. And then he later went on and he tweeted that he just wanted to say that he loves D&D and all the colleagues he's worked with. It's hard to move on, but sometimes it was a great time to do so. So apparently it was on good terms, I guess.
Maybe they had a situation where they had a discussion with the team and said, okay, we have to ask 2 people do we have 2 volunteers to do so that we don't have to.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He didn't really expand on it.
Yeah, he might not expand on it, but that's one possibility. I'm sure someone higher up says, okay, cut it down to 8, see what you can do,
And then the last tweet he sent regarding this, he just said he would like to reiterate how much he appreciates the support of his friends, fans, followers, colleagues, and all his peers. You have helped, and he won't forget that. So we wish Chris the best and hope that he lands somewhere soon. Whatever RPG picks him up will be more the better for it.
All right, then. And in addition, there seems to be also something concerning the Jeff Perrin, who created a little game called Chainmail. And when you're saying Chainmail, you don't mean the miniatures game that was done in the 80s, but you're talking about the one in the early 70s?
Correct. The precursor to D&D. It's basically what D&D was born out of. Gary Gygax and Jeff Perrin created the Chainmail game, and then Gary Gygax went on to create D&D, of course, and the rest, as I say, is history. Mr. Perrin was the main driver behind Chainmail. So if you've ever played Chainmail at all, which I cannot say that I have, I've read the rules, I've watched it being played, but I've never actually played it myself. But you owe a lot to Jeff Perrin, and it seems like he needs some help right now. His daughter recently started a GoFundMe campaign, and this is basically to raise money for a stair lift for her house so he can move, she, I should say, can move her father in. She says, "Hello, and thank you for the consideration of helping us. Due to my father's amputation and being wheelchair bound, he is unable to access my house currently the way that he needs. We are in need of a stair lift for him to access the 2 floors of my home. The long-term goal is to finish the basement with a handicapped, accessible bathroom for him to be able to transition into living with myself. But in the meantime, he needs to be able to get up and down 14 stairs, and any help would be greatly appreciated." So if you feel the need to go ahead and donate to this, you can click on the link in the article, and that takes you directly to the GoFundMe page. She needs $6,000 for the stair lift, and as of this recording, she has $4,330.
All right, and good luck on that endeavor. Now, our final piece is Unearthed Arcana, which is a new series of articles that are being done by Wizards.
That is correct. If you remember back in December, we talked about Mike Merle said he was going to end his long-running Legends and Lore column, but he promised a new column would take its place, and today it did. It is entitled Unearthed Arcana, and this one is about Eberron. Mike Merle starts out by saying, "Welcome to the first installment of the Unearthed Arcana. It's a monthly workshop where D&D RD shows off a variety of new and interesting pieces of RPG design for use at your gaming table. You can think of this material presented in this series as similar to the first wave of the 5th edition playtest. These game mechanics are in draft form, usable in your campaign, but they are not fully tampered with by playtest and design iterations. They are highly volatile and might be unstable. If you use them, be ready to rule on any issues that come up. They're written in pencil, not ink." So basically what they did with this one is they took the Eberron campaign setting and they're kind of giving you suggestions on how you can incorporate that into a 5th edition play session.
Yes, and the one that naturally attracted my attention is how they're handling artificers, or at least how they're currently thinking of handling them, since obviously things, as you noted, are quite volatile. And looks like they're trying to make it a new wizard tradition. So therefore, it would be a wizard that specializes in creating items. So creating potions, creating scrolls, creating magic weapons and armor, and things like that. And it looks like there's nothing in there about mechanical dogs and crossbow and repeating crossbows.
And Pine Leaf is sad.
Oh.
So yeah, I look forward to what they're going to do with this article because it sounds like they're going to do this for everything, and I'm crossing my fingers that Ravenloft will be soon. That would be amazing.
All right then. Then let us head into our week in DDO.
I didn't do a lot this week, really. I was kind of busy with some other things, but I did get some playtime in, of course. I took my level 12 rogue, was running a few quests with her. I did the Enemy Within, which is a House J quest, and I was kind of surprised. I kind of knew it was coming, but that was the first time I have ever had to fight a Mind Flayer, so that was kind of interesting. I walked into a room, and it's like, oh my god, there's a Mind Flayer. This might get ugly, but actually it wasn't too bad. So that's a cool little quest. That's kind of a follow-up quest to another House J quest that you do. And then I was looking through my quest logs to see some quests that I had never finished. And I noticed I had a level 8 quest that was still open. It takes place out in the ruins of Thurnal. It's called In Need of Supplies. It's a House P quest, so I thought, well, let me pop in there and see what that's like. And I decided just for kicks to see if I could do it on Elite. Since I'm level 12 but it's only a level 8 quest, I thought, let's try this. And shockingly and surprisingly, I actually succeeded. I did die once, but my cleric res me right away, and it was kind of my fault that I died because I was not paying attention, and there was a couple casters in there, and they were casting some things that I didn't move out of the area of effect in time. So I totally blamed the death on myself, and not just because it was on Elite. And I really didn't have too many problems with the champions that spawned in there. There was one that was a bit too tricky because there was like 3 other mobs with him, but I did pretty well. My rogue can stand on her own, and heaven help them if they just let me stand behind them, which luckily those champions were dumb enough to let me stand behind them, so I was getting a lot of backstabs on them, and I do some major damage when I'm behind, so that helped on the champion front. And that's pretty much what I did on my rogue. And then my ranger rogue, who was level 10, of course, did stuff with you as always. And I'll let you talk about that.
All right, then. We went into the slavers of the Shrieking Mines, where we were supposed to go in and... I remember killing a lot of slavers and avoid killing some miners in there. And that was sort of the great challenge of that one, was keeping the hirelings from killing the miners. And despite the fact that I eventually turned my hireling to passive and you turned yours to passive, it looks like we still wound up with 10 dead hirelings and the whole thing fell apart.
Yeah, apparently they didn't get the memo on being passive.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know. We talked about maybe if we would try that quest again, but we decided, nah, we might not.
We looked at the reward and said, skip it. And we also decided then, because we took so much time failing at the Shrieking Mines, we decided to try the Devil Assault. I know the Devil Assault is a couple of levels below us. Okay, a lot of levels below us, but we decided we wanted to rest on something, so we tried the Devil Assault since I had not seen it before. So let's have a look and kill a lot of devils.
And tieflings.
And tieflings, of course. Now, as for my Permadeath Barbarian, I was doing Sharn Syndicate quests. I did Stand Your Ground, Dirty Laundry, the Storm Reaper Fresco, and the Bookbinder Rescue. Now, the Bookbinder Rescue, I managed to fail that 2 times in a row, and I eventually got frustrated in that I just said, okay, maybe he didn't get killed, but he was dead in my eyes after that. So that's why I decided to end the Barbarian after failing that twice in a row. Now, I have later learned that the quest is notorious for the bookbinders having, let's say, less than smart personalities. And that they would sometimes like run out of the room and into the traps or something like that. And I was, of course, used to doing it on an artificer who would disarm all the traps before going inside. So I have a feeling that's probably the reason why is that the people we're supposed to rescue decide to run into the trap. We'll see, but I had thought I had done that before on a druid without any trouble. So with my barbarian, though, not the hirelings, people we're supposed to rescue got killed. I therefore decided to start my bard, which is the next in alphabetical order. So I created my character and did the Shifric Sword, Hayton's Rest, the Storehouse's Secret, Canaan's Crystal, and the Collaborator. So in other words, all the ones that are in Korthos Village, and finished those up. So setting myself up to go into Korthos Island for the next round of quests.
So I realize you're just in the village, but how do you like the bard? Because I think this is the first time you played a bard, yes?
No, it is not the first time I've
Okay.
played. I did create a bard before. Actually, I might have started with a bard when we were working our group together. I think I might have started on a bard with that one. The idea at one time was, I think at the last one I did, I was trying to do the swashbuckling tree. But I didn't stay with the bard very long. I think I wound up, as I said, questing with you and wound up switching back to a wizard, then to an artificer. But at this time, since one of my rules for this particular round of Permadeath is everybody uses the same tree, and of course the only tree that everybody has in common, of course, is the Harper tree. So therefore I'm using the Harper tree on everyone, so I don't have the option of trying the single-hand tree, the swashbuckling tree. Yeah, the swashbuckling tree is what it's called.
Yes.
It's just, it has an emphasis on single-hand combat, which is why I was thinking for a moment it was called that. All right, let's go into donations. We did not have any donations this week, but if you would like to help DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on DDO Players News, or even be able to guest host with us. And we did not receive any iTunes reviews this week. It looks like that when we get them all together. But we do have a comment from Jerry Snook, otherwise known as Cordafon, who left a comment on episode 16, Magic Marker Bikinis. I did just want to make sure to clarify that we have no issue with the fan site/player website creators being on the player council. If you work as a paid journalist with a website that covers our games, then we're not able to have you on, but fan sites are fine. Well, that's interesting.
Yes, so that was good that he actually clarified that, and he did clarify that in the forums as well, because I did ask on the Players Council application post in the forums, but he was kind enough to come over to our site and clarify it there as well.
Okay, so that so this is a fan site, not a paid journalist site.
Correct, yeah, we are classified as a fan site because, as you and I both know, we ain't making any money at this endeavor.
Yeah, that's for sure. And we also have an email, and what did Amalthea say?
He says he is a new listener to the podcast, and he enjoys it a lot. He's a near founder on Thelanis, and he has been looking for a better populated server. He says, what's your home server, and which currently have the best levels of population? Thelanis is so sparse most of the time that the AH can be very frustrating, and pugging can be a pain. I have 3 characters I'm trying out, and I can't find decent gear. even when I do have the plat to spare. I have almost 30 tunes, including bankers, recently started an Arcane Archer half-elf ranger at level 7 on the Orion server, and the population there seems to be a little better, but not what he would hope it would be. He's looking forward to the Temple of Elemental Evil, since it's lower level and it's an unmitigated classic. He has played D&D since the early 80s, though not since 3rd edition rules came out, and DDO since a week before its official launch. He's a PC gamer from way back. He's the co-leader of the Dreadmoon Guild on Thelanis, and he says, keep on trucking. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks for the podcast.
All right, then. That's quite interesting that it's talk about population of servers. I don't have too much idea on the matter since I spend most of my time either playing with you or solo, so
Yeah, and Pineleaf and I both play on Caneth. That's our home server.
Right.
If I know he asked that, and then if anybody else is curious. But then he also asked, what is the most populated server? If I would have to guess, I would probably say Sarlona would be the big server. That's just like anecdotal from me, just from stuff I've heard on other podcasts and seeing stuff in the forums.
Right. Now, do you do the auction house any? Because I don't go to the auction house that often, so therefore I don't know how the auction houses are relative to some other servers.
I've played with it a little bit. I put a few things up. I've looked at some stuff, but to be brutally honest with you, I can't afford anything. The stuff I was looking at, I couldn't afford to buy, so yeah, I don't know. And of course, that would just be on Caneth, our auction house. So I don't know what it's like on the other servers. But if anybody listening has any info, you can leave a comment on the show notes when they're posted on Wednesday, and we will be happy to pass them on.
And if you'd like to contact us, you can also email us at podcast@ddoplayers.com. And you can follow us on Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, DDO Players @DDO Draculeta @Draculeta_72, and Pineleaf @PineleafNeedles. And the Players Alliance has 3 live shows every single week. On Mondays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. On Thursdays, I believe it's now 6:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time for Guild Wars Players News, since you're on that show.
Correct. It is now 6:30.
And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lotro Players News. And you can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to loot those treasure chests.